real high-class bout. It's on! It's on!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Arsenal X, episode 95. I am one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the wise Wisconsinite, Jesse Douglas.
How's it going?
Jesse, we have a few guests here. Very excited.
Yeah.
Got a full house. We have Josh Finney, the Demon Sour Cream, freshly shaven after 3 months.
First time in 3 months. My face is cold.
It's cold. You live in Texas. How are you cold?
My face is cold, and that's my on the matter.
Also joining us from Xbox Expansion Pass, the Xbox podcast you can find everywhere, is Lohr, the insipid ghost.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Love your show. Love everything you're doing. I guess just remind everybody who you are and what you do and what your podcast is about. Obviously, it's Xbox,
sure.
but...
Thanks. Yeah, it's the Xbox Expansion Pass, available on all your podcast services. And it's a weekly analytical look at the Xbox Gamerverse and Xbox ecosystem. And we look at all game announcements kind of as they pertain to that ecosystem. So what does Stadia have to do with Xbox? What is PlayStation 5's announcement or Unreal Engine 5? What does that mean for Xbox? We look at a lot of that. It's a solo show hosted just by me. But I often have guests on the show to discuss their roles in the industry. Most recently, Sissy Jones, a voice actor, was on. I've had people like Mike Bithell, a developer. Recently, or tomorrow, the CEO of Playful Studios, Paul Bettner, is going to be on the show. And he shares insight into working way back in the day on Age of Empires and Halo Wars and the ill-fated Halo MMO, all the way through to working at Playful and making the most recent Super Lucky's Tale games. So it's often features guests from around the industry, and would love it for people to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. There'll be links in the show description below to, have our audience check out your show. Although I think a lot of our audience is similar. So, but anyways, if you don't listen to Expansion Pass, you should be, and there will be links in the show description. But I'm glad to have you guys on. This is going to be a pretty good show, I think. Not a lot of huge Xbox news out there, but there is some, and there's some questions and everything. So we've got a pretty decent show. Gonna get through some housekeeping real quick. This is Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast here on Boss Rush Games. Each and every Sunday night, Jesse and I, as well as our friends from around the internet, come together on twitch.tv/Boss Rush Games Live and Mixer to talk about the latest news, rumors, releases, and your questions. After the live show, join us live as we take a look at some of the games available to you on Game Pass. Tonight, we are playing some Bleeding Edge. So if you are listening to the audio, you can actually check it out on Wednesday nights on our YouTube page and on bossrushgames.com. Download our family of podcasts, including the Boss Rush podcast and Nintendo Power Block, on your podcast services of choice. And please like, subscribe, rate, and review. Now, with that said, we're going to get into some of these news bits here. Saints Row the Third recently came out on current gen platforms, and a lot of people were upset that you could not run it at 60 frames a second unless you have an Xbox One X. So there's some articles from Windows Central. If you're fortunate enough to own an Xbox One X, you can take advantage of a boost in frame rate in today's release of Saints Row the Third Remastered. This has been confirmed by Windows Central, which notes that you can simply remove the frame rate lock in the display settings of the game. If you want to read the rest of the article on Pure Xbox, you can, but I just thought it was really interesting that it seems the Xbox One X is the only one getting this unlocked frame rate. And, just to spur the conversation, we do have a question from Randall Dreddell. He asks, howdy Axers, why do you think it's so difficult for studios who are remastering games to get them running at 60 FPS? I understand newer games and stuff like that, but why is it difficult for older titles? That's a good question. I think a lot of people are actually moving into that we want 60 frames a second standard across the board. But what are your guys' thoughts on Saints Row? You have to unlock it through the Xbox One X.
Well, I just recently I did play it on my One X. I don't know if I actually even took the thing off to unlock that yet. Now that I think of it, so I'll have to check into that. But I don't know. I guess it is kind of interesting. I mean, the game does look quite a bit better, but it still doesn't look like it would be a game that you wouldn't be able to hit 60 frames.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess, but is that in 4K though? Is that like 4K 60 frames?
That's
the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not it doesn't
like if
specify
it's
in this
4K,
article.
Then I can understand it why it's not.
It doesn't say specifically in this article, but it just has a frame rate unlock. But it says the frame rate does dip to around 45 when there's a lot going on. So, I mean, you're not getting a clean 60, obviously. But at this point, anything above 30 for me, especially in something like a heavy action game, is 60 needs to be the standard. I've been playing a lot of Halo recently and running that at 60 frames. I've actually turned on the 120 hertz mode on my Xbox One X and running it at 1440p, and for some reason everything just feels a lot better with that setting. So that's what I've been running all my shooters on. Destiny, can't really tell the difference because it's running at 30, but although speaking of 60 in Destiny, side tangent, since it's free to play on PC, I downloaded that and played it at 60 frames on PC, and it is a totally different experience than playing.
It ruins you. It absolutely ruins you.
Like if I start playing it on Xbox at 30, I'm fine. But if I play it like in the morning on my PC at 60 and try to go back to my Xbox at 30 at night, I can't.
Yeah.
But
that's why it's like I know like there's talk of the 120 or whatever for the Series X and all that, but like honestly, like since I've experienced 4K, I really, for me, I want that 4K, and I'm fine with 60 frames per second being the the best at 4K. Like I'm perfectly fine with that. Because like I was literally would play games switching back and forth from the 1440p versus 4K. Like I still can tell such a difference in just the way everything is pixelated and just looks, like being on a monitor or whatever. It just makes too much of a difference for me that I don't think once I started with 4K, I don't think I can go back anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I don't get hung up on frame rates at all. That's one thing. Maybe it's like you guys are clearly able to lock in on that stuff. I don't notice that until I notice that, and that's kind of the curse. I remember years ago when I got married, we took our Xbox One S with me. And I played Gears 4 on my IS, and then went back home and played on my X. And I'm like, oh, way different. But I would not have known it in the moment. As far as Saints Row specifically, like at this point, it's Saints Row 3. Like I'm not worried about that experience. And that was the promise of the One X when it first came to pass, is that it's going to be faster, more efficient. It's going to do better things for you.
But again, that just shows that like, yes, the box is capable of doing that, but Microsoft is clearly focusing on that 60 frames a second experience across the board. But now it's like a company by company basis where like we don't even know if Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to run at 60 frames a second on the Series X.
Yeah, I think that's the more interesting. I think that's the more interesting conversation to have there is when like I'm not concerned about it not being at a stable 60 frames on the One X because, like Luke said, it's Saints Row 3. How many times have we seen this game come out? be
Like
ported,
a
be
13th
remastered.
remaster. They're competing
Like,
with Skyrim for amount of platforms.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
worried about. I don't think the 1,500 people who are going to buy this game. That's obviously like an exaggeration. Like, I don't think the limited number of people who are going to go out and buy this game in a console release year are really concerned about that. That is a developer choice. Like, it is up to that developer and to that publishing house to decide, okay, are we going to optimize this for this specific console? That was the promise of the One X and of the PS4 Pro, to do that. Like, we're going to have more stable frame rates. If it dips below 30, then yeah, I'd be really concerned at that point, because this is an older game. No excuse for that. But when you have people like the director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla coming out and saying, "Oh, we're going to guarantee that it'll run at 30 frames." No, you should definitely not be saying that out loud 6 months from release, because that really does flagship next gen game look great, especially when it's on new where both manufacturers are like, yeah, this sucker, like 60 FPS is like that is the standard output. Like, it's up to developers to harness that. Like, Microsoft is very clearly being like, it's on them. If it doesn't run at this, and it is not our fault, it is because they did not take advantage of the hardware.
And that actually sets up a whole separate narrative of if Microsoft chose consciously with the One X to begin a narrative of we have and will have the most powerful console. On the One X, it did not move units. Respect to that. I love my One X. I have two of them, oddly enough. But that did not move units. And the question will be, can they push consumers, casual consumers specifically, to buy into the idea that the most powerful is best? Because right now, the very weakest system on the market is selling 2-to-1 ratio numbers at this moment, with the Switch outpacing PS4 and Xbox based on NPD of April. And PlayStation outsold overall generation 2-to-1, despite both versions being weaker than the One S and the One X respectively. So the power narrative is all proof in the pudding. And so they've set themselves up to have to battle that mentality. And Valhalla, if I were Microsoft, I would be working with Ubisoft as much as possible with marketing deals. I'd be talking to the same thing with CD Projekt Red and saying, hey, we've got this power. What do we need to do to make sure that you show that on our system? Because they are on no impetus to do that. They should. If it were me, I'd make for the lowest common denominator, I'd make it efficient and make it work. And they now have to find a way to prove it most powerful means something. Whether it's 60, whether it's 30 or 120, which is capable of, they got to prove it, and they got to make it worthwhile for people to do. And we've seen, I apologize for rambling, but I will make a point. We have seen with the backward compatibility program, with the Game Pass program, with the xCloud program, that Microsoft is willing to do the legwork for a lot of their initiatives and make it as easy as possible for developers. But making it worthwhile on power, that comes down to structuring and coding, and that's different than loading into a server for xCloud or upgrading it into a back compat emulator. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there.
And I would imagine that they're working pretty closely with Ubisoft and with CD Projekt Red, like you said. Like, those are their two flagship marketing deals for the fall so far, in Assassin's Creed and in Cyberpunk. Like, we got a special Cyberpunk console coming out, for God's sake, and it was the first thing announced to be doing smart delivery, like, outside of first-party titles. So those are both going to have those pushes. And it's like, it comes down to, are these developers going to harness it? Like, I think you would simply just have to ask at that point. Like, these are clearly games that Microsoft wants to succeed. They want those to be synonymous with Series X, with the One X, to be almost like some of these marketing deals you see, like with Call of Duty. Like, for so long that was synonymous with the Xbox brand, and now that's PlayStation. Destiny was PlayStation. Like, a lot of people still think of that as a PlayStation console game. And as we've seen, like, that can affect player populations when you get into multiplayer games. So with something like that, like, arguably the biggest game of the year in CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk, you want all eyes on that, but you got to make damn sure that that looks amazing, not only on the One X and One S, but on your Steam, like, pick this up, this is the place to play it. Like, it will look like it does on a PC, it will run like it does on a PC. That's a selling point. Not, here's Assassin's Creed running on an engine that we saw in Odyssey and in Origins, and please God, let it run at a stable 30 frames in 4K. Like, here is CD Projekt Red's Game of the Year running at crisp 60 frames in 4K.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when they said that it would run at a minimum of 30 frames per second, I was like, the rest of this sentence better be at 8K because that what?
Yeah.
Why?
Like,
Why would
promising me
you
a
even
stable
mention this
30
then?
frames is something that's fine for like a massive shooter that has like 48 players in a match or something.
Yeah.
Like if you came out at launch and promised me that Battlefield 4 would run at a stable 30 frames, I would have jumped for joy because that game clipped and was buggy as hell. Like even Destiny can't even maintain a stable 30 frames when there's a lot going on the screen.
Yeah.
And that, like, Bungie's been working with Xbox tools for 2 decades now. So come on, like it literally comes down to the developers. No matter how much power you have in that box.
Yeah. And one thing, and I don't know, like just kind of going back to the question thing or whatever about the Saints Row, like I think someone else redid that too. Like, not that that's an excuse or anything, but like, you know, part of me wonders if maybe just whoever ported it, just like either something was up where they just could not, for whatever reason, get it to be running, you know, properly, or I don't know. Like I you know, because I thought I seen a different name announced for the port of that someone else worked on it, but
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't know. Because but usually I feel like a lot of the times people who do ports of games like that usually do an amazing job. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of weird. It is.
Give
kind of
every
weird.
remake the blue point. That's the
Yeah.
moral of the conversation here.
Yeah.
But I think
Handle
it's
it.
I think the other thing is too, like with it being like open world, like I don't know if it's on something where on the back end the whole entire world's being loaded up at some point, and you know, and so there's issues with like those kind of things. I mean, you know, obviously there's a lot of things that could probably be going on that need to just be fixed for it to run at a better frame rate, but you know, that's the thing. I don't like, I mean, I love playing games, but there's a point that you get to where I have no idea what's going on to make that game that I'm playing happen the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Xbox One X in particular has been a stepping stone to what, you know, this is definitely the first step, and then whatever, you know, next generation is going to be like what their fully like realized interpretation of what they wanted to do in the first place, you know, with Game Pass and first party games and Xbox Live and being able to run games the way that people like developers design them and everything. So I have full faith in the Series X that it's going to be more what people expect out of what people kind of wanted out of the X and the PS4 Pro, and you know, for the most part but there's all obviously hiccups and not 4K 60 and not you know, steady frame rates and whatnot, but we're gonna move along here. Engadget has reported that the original Xbox's source code has leaked online. Speaking of emulating original Xbox games, the original Xbox was a new frontier for modders and tinkerers, as it included a hard drive that made it easier to install unofficial dashboards and pirated games. I know lots of people who have modded Xboxes. It was a cool thing, but I was always too afraid to take mine apart or, you know, try to load it up with stuff.
yeah,
I was never
the same.
I was never that guy.
Yeah,
The furthest I got in emulating stuff was putting the Bleem disc in my Dreamcast and you know, trying to play PS1 games on there.
oh yeah.
But let's see, the enthusiasts might be getting a flashback to 2002 as the official Xbox OS has leaked online, according to The Verge. This includes the Xbox dev kit, emulators, build environments, documentation, and the kernel itself. These kinds of leaks have often enabled developers to create unofficial fan projects such as emulators. However, The Verge notes that some of this data has been available within the homebrew scene for a while, so it's not clear how much of it will be a revelation to the Xbox modding and emulated community. We recently saw Nintendo's big leak a few weeks ago with the Wii and some DS files and N64 dev kits and stuff. So another side of the coin, leaks seem to be apparent a very, very commonplace these days, between The Last of Us and Nintendo leak and now this. So, I mean, I'm not sure that it's too much of a worry since, this will be 4 generations old this year. So, but I mean, it's interesting to see people take the source code and maybe make a fan project or something. But what do you guys think about the leak and stuff?
Once it's been this long, we're almost 20 years removed from it release. We're 19 years this November removed from the original Xbox coming out.
That's so long, dude.
Yeah. Let that sink in, everyone. We're 19 years removed from Halo 1. I think
that's when we started COVID, right? That was when that hit.
Yeah,
19 years ago.
Luke's got jokes. I don't think it's that big of a deal for the source code to come out this far after. Yeah. If anything, I think it's kind of cool because it, in a way, helps preserve history. We've seen especially in like the retro community. I know they are up in arms about like some of these arcade games. Like there's literally only a couple cabinets left, and they're trying to get them and digitally upload them with emulators to preserve them forever. I think that's kind of cool for some of these games, like especially in more retro shops. Like there's just tons and tons of Xbox games. You can only play about 20, maybe 25 of those probably on your Xbox One, and subsequently on your Series X. Like that's unless I want to play a Star Wars game, I can't play much. So I think that's kind of cool for a piece of history. Not that I'm endorsing, modding or emulating or anything like that. I think it's a cool way to tinker with and preserve history, though. And, somebody wants to give me Battlefront 2 servers back, I love you forever.
Well, you don't like playing Battlefront 2 backwards compatible on your Xbox One X by yourself?
No, sir, it is a 1S, thank you very much, or it is the Xbox One VCR in my bedroom. I do not enjoy playing it by myself.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah. You want to go out frame rate drops.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this code stuff is that when codes leak, and leaking has been something that we've seen happen pretty regularly for the past, I would say, 2 years. This leak, that leak, the most recent being the Naughty Dog leak. How companies handle stuff like this, I think, says a lot about their approach to managing security. One of the neat things about Microsoft is if you can hack their various security states, they offer rewards if you can find faults and report them to them. There's like $100,000 reward for various people that find security failings in their stuff. And that to me speaks to a bold level of confidence on a parent company scale. But also, those exploitations for the Naughty Dog leak occurred through stuff all the way back as Uncharted 3. So that tells you that a lot of this code, and I spoke with a developer about this recently, a lot of code sticks around for decades buried within various things. And unless it's built completely from the ground up, you'll have stuff in there that's very old and thus open to exploitation. And so I dig the mentality that Microsoft has about defending that and rewarding people for finding exploits so they can seal it so something doesn't happen. I don't know if PlayStation or Sony do the same thing. I do know if you cross the big N, Mario will come for you and they will hunt you down. That is
going to bury you in a Yoshi egg, get a question block underneath it.
Yeah, they are intense, but it does say something, and I'm curious as to how much of the original Xbox source code exists now in whatever platforms we operate with our One S's, our One X's, or even the VCR editions.
Yeah, you're dealing with the wrecking crew, Mario. If you cross them, they come after you with the hammer.
They'll send Mr. Dream out there to knock you out because
they will.
They don't want to deal with Mike Tyson anymore. But I think it's fascinating that it just seems like all these leaks are happening at once, and it's interesting. It's cool in one way and kind of maybe bad in another way, but it's cool for the preservation of original Xbox games specifically.
Well, like Luke said, it's and like in some cases, and it's inevitable, over time, and it's all about how they deal with it, and because there's always going to be someone who's going to figure something out. Like if there's people that like literally spend like their entire life, like just trying to do things, screw around with things and figure things out like that because they look at it as a challenge, like that's their video game is trying to hack into things and figure things out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, eventually something's gonna, and and I agree too with like the just like preserving a lot of these old things is just such a a big deal to people who just have played games since the beginning until now. And it's just there's so many there were so many just neat things and stuff that you would hate to see just gone forever, like arcade. I mean, that's why like the barcade things are becoming such a big deal now. Like everywhere they're popping back up again because like so many people now that were our age are like getting these small businesses and trying to bring that stuff back, like so people don't like completely get rid of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Speaking of coding, we have our kind of first confirmed Unreal 5 engine Xbox Game Studios title in Exile's next project. I think Phil Spencer did say that Hellblade is running on Unreal also. Whether that's 4 or 5, I'm sure by the time that game comes out, it'll be on Unreal 5 or some sort of version of that. So, but it's cool to see, because a lot of people are associating that Unreal 5 tech demo with the PlayStation 5. I know it was running on PlayStation 5 and it looked amazing. I want to play that game, by the way, that they were showing off, but I know that's not ever gonna happen. But it's nice to see that. In Exile and Xbox Game Studios are ready to embrace the next generation of Unreal. I'm 1,000% sure whatever the next Gears game is going to be Unreal. A
lot of Microsoft's internal games use Unreal 4.
Yeah.
And are being developed on them. Like even like Wasteland 3 is being developed in Unreal 4, for example. I would wager whatever the next Gears game is, because like Unreal 5 is not coming to market until next fall. You probably won't see games until next fall, maybe even beginning of 2022, like for AAA games running on that. But one of the cool things that I think Epic brought up in their presentation and that Tim Sweeney was addressing is you can develop an Unreal 4 and it'll come forward into 5 when those tools are made available. So you're already hitting the ground running. So like I don't know if Hellblade will necessarily be running on that. That kind of depends on the timetable for that game. I'm still of the opinion it's probably a launch window title. We'll probably see it in the first 4 to 6 months, considering it was at the reveal. That tech demo we saw of it was rendered in engine in real time. So we don't know how far along that is. Considering they've already teased the follow-up to that in Project Mara, I'd imagine it's kind of soon. But definitely I would say Gears 6 is probably going to be one of the first flagship games to use that. Like absolutely, like this is going to be an internal engine. They're not going to sit there and use slip space for everything. That'll probably be restricted to more FPS, maybe tactical shooters. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but I can't see them using that for anything else.
Video Games Chronicle lists Rare, Ninja Theory, The Coalition, and Playground Games as working with Unreal Engine 5, and it says and more. So I'd have to imagine that.
Bless you.
Bless you.
They're paying a pretty hefty fee to license that engine. They definitely use it more internally than Sony does, to my knowledge.
Yeah, but I think it's for me. I think it for me, if you have a bunch of studios using the same engine, they are going to be able to work. Not that they're not all smart people, but if somebody has asset creation skills at one studio, they can be a small support team for another studio if you need it, because you're all working with the same engine. And it's EA's reasoning why everything uses DICE's engine. What is
Frostbite?
it? Frostbite. Thank you. But not that that's a great example, but that was a reasoning why all these studios are using Frostbite, so they can. I remember that the helicopter speech where, we could use a helicopter from this game. Bless you. In this game to put in this game, we could have helicopters from Battlefield fly over the field and Madden. And like nobody cares. But it's just like the one thing that sticks out.
But Frostbite taught us a couple lessons, particularly and most recently with Anthem, in that if the team invested in making the game is not comfortable or does not feel the engine suits the game they want to make, then you could have potentially disastrous results during development. Now, Anthem came out fairly presentable. It just lacked a lot of the elements that you would want for a looter shooter in an end game. But the flying, the gameplay all felt great. But throughout development, it took multiple reboots to make Frostbite work for them. Unreal offers people a lot of approachable levels, and for them to be going from 4 to 5 and it upgrade the way it does suggests that studios can go in right now with confidence and then feel good about moving and upgrading their stuff. It's more iterative, seemingly at this point, and that seems to be the philosophy for the entire gaming industry, is that now you're going to have incremental upgrades that will offer systemic value on multiple points, but they're easy to transition. Yeah. You know, you're taking your whole library with you from your Xbox One, whatever's available, whether it's original, 360, or Xbox One, is all going to travel with you. Engine work seems to be taking that same mentality going forward, and that builds efficiency and theoretically will cut down on frustration for developers. I would imagine when we get the deep dive on Slipspace, they offer something similar in that respect. And of course, they'll make their game, that engine available to their internal studios. But what I like about Spencer's statements on it is that they're not mandating it. And not mandating means people have freedom, and freedom means more creativity.
Well, and I think it's really... Oh, go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, I was going to say and which is what I really wish they would have did with Frostbite, because like Frostbite is amazing when you're making like the Battlefield games. Like, you know, I like the things that it can do for those games.
I mean, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is one of the most amazing looking games on the Xbox, right? Like it's just such an amazing looking game. It's definitely using Frostbite to their advantage, right? Like it's just it's amazing.
Well, and that's kind of what I want to circle back to is I like what Luke was bringing up about how Phil Spencer's not mandating that Slipspace must be used internally. Like, that is an engine developed with a very specific type of game in mind, and I prefer to see it used as an internal tool for that. Like, if, for example, the Coalition decided, or the Initiative decides, hey, we want to use that, and we can utilize that to the best of our abilities for a third-person action game, or for a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, cool, that's available to them. But they're not going to mandate that they move away from these tools, like industry standard tools that people are becoming familiar with across platforms, across companies. EA's big mistake with Frostbite was trying to force BioWare, a company that has never used that and never needed to use Frostbite, quite frankly, trying to force them into using it. The game got rebooted multiple times. They had to bring back Casey Hudson. I think they kind of started learning that about halfway through and were like, crap, this is a disaster. They have never forced Respawn to use that engine. Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, Jedi Fallen Order, none of them were made in there. I believe they were made with a modified version of the Unreal Engine, but I don't want to come out and say that for certain.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
But it's like, holy crap, like this is completely different. And notice those games came out with, they were technically very proficient. Like they may have been lacking a little bit in content in Titanfall 1 as much as I love it, but they are the most stable EA games that have been released. Like that studio is 4 for 4 this generation. Putting charge of DICE is the best thing you could have ever done in terms of, especially if you want to continue to promote Frostbite. He's going to sit there and say, okay, yeah, this is a game that needs to use it. The sports games probably don't need it. Battlefield, go for it. Like Battlefield looks beautiful every single time. Focus it on that. Use all your resources there, and I think that's one of the really cool things about it. Like UE5 being aligned with the PlayStation 5, like, okay, whatever. Like, we see marketing deals all the time. Like, Unreal, for a while there, it seemed like with UE3 was aligned with Xbox. So let's not forget, like, Gears of War was born out of Unreal Tournament. So, like, it's just, it's like the Call of Duty license. Like, it's going to ping pong back and forth. Like, it's there. The tools are there for anybody to use. It's not a proprietary engine that is exclusive to a specific company or console manufacturer. Epic is like pushing the industry forward in a way that I don't know if we were quite ready for this quickly. Making their crossplay tools available, making UE5 forward compatible, like that, those are huge steps for everybody. Like those are tools available to any developer, whether it's like Hello Games with a team of 10 people or Bungie with 500 people. Like it's there. Just utilize it. So.
Yeah. We did have a question. I think we pretty much answered it though. But friend of the show, Deshaun Malone, writes in and says, "Do you think Unreal Engine 5 will be a standard that Microsoft will follow during the next gen?" I mean, we kind of already said what studios are using it. Like Luke said, Microsoft is offering their studios freedom to use what they need to make their vision come true, right? And just look at everything that's come out now and what's coming ahead. You know, it's the creative vision that's coming out of some of these studios is just awesome to see. I can't wait for Halo and Gears, obviously, but I'm really excited to see what the initiative is working on and what engine they're using and what, you know, all fingers seem to be pointing at Perfect Dark for them for some reason, which I would be excited for if they did a Metal Gear 5 take on that game, but that's just me, I think. But and you know, I wouldn't put it past Playground to be using that engine for Fable either. But we shall see. But the last bit of news here, Phil Spencer is going to be a guest on Talking Games with Harold and Reggie, the podcast with obviously ex-Nintendo president Reggie Fils-Aimé, and it's they're teasing that he might be talking about something that we don't know about yet.
Because at the end of the first episode, like I had listened to it over on Friday, and they kind of teased it a little bit and just said that he's got a surprise for them or something. Now, I mean, that could mean a million different things.
Yeah.
But just the fact that like what made me think that maybe we will get like I don't think it would be a big announcement or anything like that if it was something along the lines of an announcement for Xbox. But just the fact that they do kind of say that he is there to talk with them, but it sounds like he's also there to promote a little bit. So I don't know what to think of it exactly. I'm not getting my hopes up in any way. I'm just going to be just psyched to hear those two in the same podcast, honestly. Like, it's just going to be awesome hearing them two talk about games and about business and all that stuff. The first episode though is really good because you really got to hear like Reggie's his beginning story and stuff. It was really good. So yeah, definitely if you haven't checked that out yet, definitely go check it out. So
yeah. So I mean, anybody else have any thoughts? I mean, we'll probably talk about it when he comes on, and we'll talk about what he talks about the next time we record a real episode, right?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think there's too much else. Reggie and Phil, we've seen they're pretty comfortable with each other. A lot of the execs, like, they're not buying into the whole console war thing that a lot of the fanboys do. It's very much like, hey, we're just fans of games. Like, we're fans of kick-ass games over here. And for Phil to be kind of teasing that he might have something, I think it might just be along the lines of, yeah, by the way, this is the date that we're going to show the actual, like, we're actually have our Series X presentation.
Yeah.
Like, now, we already know the first-party showcase is coming in July, like, but hey, this is the date in June that we're going to show you the box, give you the release date, the price point, the features, things like that. Like, I could see him maybe teasing it there since he is friends with Reggie. And Harold is a great reporter, too. If you've never read his work, Harold's a really good reporter on the industry. But I wouldn't read too much past that personally. Like, at this point, Phil knows, like, he knows that he needs to have a better rollout plan than they had with the one. Don is not in control this time. Like, Phil is very much allowed to handle the messaging. So I think it should just be like a little friendly tease, like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, if you're listening to this, you might wanna tune in to the Microsoft Twitch channel or in the Mixer on June 9th, like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Phil's definitely been out there, like doing such a good job with pushing stuff. Like, he was on the main like news. What was it? On MSNBC or what? Yeah, CNBC. Yeah, like talking about stuff and like really selling it to the parents and stuff and letting them know about like all the the child proofing and stuff like that you can do and like
and he has to.
Yeah.
They've been
that's literally in his job description.
Yeah,
but they've been outsold 2-1 by PlayStation. The Switch has outpaced them despite coming out years later. He has to talk about the parental stuff so that kids buy into it, because that's been the key element that's missing for Xbox is the youth, is the youngins, the young people, and the fellow youths just aren't in on that. So he's got to go out there and pitch it to everybody, and he's legitimately doing a great job. You mentioned Don Matrick, 7 years ago this past week was the anniversary of when he shared news of the Xbox One, and my goodness, the turnaround they've had in 7 years has been impressive.
It's monumental. We talk about it all the time. It takes years to turn a massive cruise ship like that, and Phil Spencer, it could have either been a Titanic situation or just what it's become. So I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed with the work that Phil Spencer and his team have done since, backwards compatibility wasn't even supposed to be possible. Look at it. It's all there. Like everything you own that's, been relicensed, right, has come back. Now if they'll just relicense the X-Men arcade game and the Turtles arcade game, we'd be all right. But
I mean, just the way he talks, like you can tell that he's genuine. Like it's not. Yeah. It's just like he's just him, and that's what I love about it. It's you actually have a decent person who can relate, or people can relate with, that's talking about something in a way that everyone can understand it.
Yeah, and this we have a question on this from Twitter from look at that. Edward Varnell from the Boss Rush podcast writes in. He says, how does a brand repair itself even after years that they are trying to do the right thing? I mean, I think the Xbox has more than repaired their brand. Like, I think they've become what people are looking at to move to in the future, right? I think Sony's looking at them with PlayStation Now, right, in terms of Game Pass and what they're offering that way, and I think that Xbox is doing they've done the best job of going from being, they've pulled a Wii U to Switch situation. I think they're heading that direction. Other than because look at the Wii U, like it didn't sell, right, and now the Switch is a major hit. I think the Xbox One has sold a lot more than the Wii U, obviously, but in terms of mind share and how people feel about the Xbox brand, I think a lot of people are excited for the Series X in general.
I think to complete the narrative of that comeback, like you said, I mean, when the Xbox One was announced, I'll never forget the press conference of entertainment apps. Like, it's more than just a gaming console. Like, I'm sorry, people don't want to hear that at your debut presentation. That's the kind of stuff you talk about leading up to launch. Like, the box also does this, by the way. I don't need to spend all this time on original TV shows that you're planning to make. I don't need to see the fish tech in Call of Duty Ghosts. Like, show me your exclusive games. Show me why I need to invest in this console. Like, abandoning indies after Summer of Arcade was such a huge deal during the 360 years. Not having those first party titles really there at launch, and ultimately the ouster of Matrick and Phil Harrison, leading to Phil Spencer kind of assuming the helm. Like, there was an immediate turnaround. xCloud, we know, was being implemented internally as far back as 5 years ago, I think, at Gamescom. They teased that that's how Crackdown 3 was initially running. I remember Destin from IGN writing a piece on it and me being excited back then, like, oh my god, like, Xbox is becoming more than just a box. It's like Series X is pretty much a better version of a Steam box in your living room. Like, Xbox isn't a box that we think of anymore. It's a service. It runs on my Windows 10. It runs on my iPhone. Like, I can play Master Chief Collection right now while we're talking if I feel like it. That's incredible. Like, that's seeing into the future. Like, that's something that I think when they came out and announced it, like, Sony was probably going like, a crap. Like, how do you count this wild success of Game Pass? It was an okay service until they said, hey, first party titles, day and date. That's what sealed it for me, that I'm going to sign up for this forever. I enjoy the first party lineup. I'm going to save money and explore indies that I normally wouldn't have the money for. Sign me up. Like, check out some stuff that the turnaround's been incredible, and I think to really off comes down to what happens in June and July this year. Really bring it home with that hardware reveal, and man, reveal can't just be Halo and Forza. It's got to be, here's what every one of our studios is working on, even if it's just a tech demo, even if it's just a tease. You got to drive that home. Like, the four of us we're going to buy this box, but you have to convince the ones that aren't the Xbox diehards, who aren't like, yeah, I'm going to own both, but like, this is the one where I do most of my gaming on. Like, I play all my third parties on Xbox. I only have my PS4 for exclusives. I'm going to keep doing that on Series X, hopefully, but it's going to be, where do they look the best? That's where I want to go. You got to convince me your box is the best place to play. And how do you start that? Your services and your exclusives. Like, you already got Game Pass. You already got Xbox Live. Bring it home now.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, and like one of the things too that, you know, I think Xbox has over Sony still right now is just the fact that a lot of their Sony's things that they're kind of saying they're going to do to kind of, you know, like fire back at some of the things that Xbox are offering, they're kind of like all over the place with the announcement, or like, you know, like it's still one of those things that, like, I don't know if you remember much of the PS4 like announcement launch stuff, but like I had went back and watched like the announcement thing, and like when they were talking about like all the things that they were planning on doing and having for it. And a lot of that stuff, the second that they blew past Xbox and didn't really have to try, they didn't really do a lot of those things. And it was kind of funny that now Xbox, the, you know, like as they've resurfaced the brand and redid it and, you know, created the new Xbox, they're doing a bunch of those things that Sony was saying they were going to do, and they never really, for, you know, like moved forward on as much as they claimed they were going to, because they never really had to. Like, they were just, you know, they were going to be things that were just kind of like extra things that you know, people could look forward to. But so, like, you know, like the thing is, like right now is what, like Microsoft, like they just got to make sure that when they're making plans or saying things, that they're not, you know, like trying to pull one over people, which I feel like they're not that Microsoft really anymore, or that Xbox anymore. But still, those people that are mostly Sony fans are still gonna be okay. Well, let's see how things go, you know. And I feel like I'm more that way right now with Sony than I am with them, only because, like, there's still a lot of announcing and things that Sony needs to do yet, you know, that Microsoft has already gotten out of the way.
Yeah, I mean,
and
like,
so I just need to hear more from Sony's side. And right now, Microsoft kind of has that over them right now, and they just need to make sure that they continue to be true to people, and in the end, you know, follow through with the things that they're saying. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, if they can do that, and for some reason Sony slips up, I feel like with this, you know, this reviving of the name of, you know, of Xbox, and people, you know, I see people constantly on Facebook, you know, posting that they're bought the new Xbox, you know, the One X or whatever, and they're playing it. And, you know, there's a lot of people who are buying that stuff late now and coming to it because it is such a good deal. Mm-hmm. You just want to make sure you keep those people, though.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think that's, you know, that's really going to be the key moving forward here.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, sorry, I had to step away for a second. There's a ghost playing with my kid's kitchen, and all the bells and whistles started going off. It was awesome. So, but I don't know if you mentioned this while I was away, but Jesse, we've discussed it before that Sony is still on two big marketing cycles right now for Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, right? Like, they still have two major PlayStation 4 games that, you know, Xbox's first party, for better or for worse, is pretty much done on the Xbox One. You know, they're looking to Halo, they're looking probably to Forza in the fall, and so on. So, but just to wrap this up, I think Xbox's brand is I think a lot of people like what Xbox is doing, and hopefully this continues on to next generation. So, but we are going to wrap the show up with what we've been playing, or as we like to call on the show, what's been in our arsenal. Luke, we're going to go to you first. What are you playing?
Two games of note. The first being Maneater, and the second being Minecraft Dungeons. Which one do you want to hear about?
Both. Let's hear about both. Let's hear about Maneater first, because that's
yeah, I want to get that one.
Strange.
I gotta get that one.
Maneater is the game that you probably didn't know you needed in your life. All right, everybody, just pull yourself a chair up to the fire and let me tell you about this little title here. So you start off as a very powerful apex shark being hunted by a shark hunter, and it's very documentary-esque in the way that like Axemen or there's like they're on like nature channel shows where they're hunting down different creatures and they're doing like documentary type things. So it's got like a silly play on words, like Deadliest Catch kind of thing, except it's shark hunters and he's hunting this shark. Well, he catches the shark, kills it, and pulls you out of it. It's actually your mother, and it pulls you out of your womb, and it throws you into the bayou. And from there, as baby shark, you swim around the bayou, upgrade yourself, and you're playing an RPG underwater where you get points for killing different creatures, hunting down different people, performing different types of attacks, discovering things. You swim all around this world. The world's open world, and you discover it, and you are being a shark. And you get all these insane upgrades. You get cool points as you slaughter people. You are
How do you upgrade a shark?
Well, you see, you begin as a pup, and then you become a teen, then you become an adult, and then you can upgrade your internal organs to have advanced sonar, and then you can evolve, they call them evolutions, evolve like bone armor on yourself as you age, and it's wild. It's an insane idea that they pull off pretty well. There's some camera issues, some control issues I'm having so far, but real talk, for $40, it's not a bad title. I would suggest you wait for a sale. And the moment you see that thing on for $30 or lower, snag it up because it's just a darn good time playing around and swimming around as a shark, hunting people on the beach and fighting shark hunters. It's fun and it's funny and it knows what it is. It's very self-aware. I really dig it. If you imagine piloting an X-wing in Star Wars, except you're underwater, you're a shark. That's how you that's how you move around.
So
the
what
world.
you're saying is this is a really good stress reliever.
Yes, man, you have no idea. Since pandemic started, I did not realize I needed to be a shark and eat up to people. But if they're gonna break social distancing norms and they're gonna gather together on the beach, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Okay?
Yeah.
Hey, we're just helping them.
That's right. That's
some
right.
Some people want to play as as people in an animal world, and some people just want to play as animals in a people's world.
Yep. So I'm really enjoying Maneater. That's a very good time. But I would recommend wait for sale, and when you do, you're gonna have an absolute ball.
Awesome.
So
yeah. Awesome. So also tell us about Minecraft Dungeons. That's out Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, so that comes out Tuesday the 26th. And I needed to say that Microsoft provided a review code, so take anything I say with a grain of salt. But I will tell you, I absolutely love Minecraft Dungeons. I've got a full review over on Xbox Expansion Pass, but it is a joy to play. It's an action RPG reminiscent of something like Diablo. However, it's far more approachable initially because it does take on the Minecraft aesthetic and also kind of the mentality in that you can pick it up, press A, and just have a ball with your family or a young child, or there exists a depth within this game that exists from stat boosts and item tracking and min-maxing different builds. It is there if you want it to be. And there's an end game loop with special enhanced abilities. One of my favorite things is to discover new weapons. I went from a regular bow and arrow to a crossbow that suddenly the arrows ricocheted, fired 2 at a time, and had a chance for a poison cloud burst. I had a sword that did standard sword things, but then I enchanted it with one of the upgrades that you can get, and suddenly every few hits it was causing lightning to strike the enemies. It's really, really approachable in that respect, but it's got a depth to it that I think a lot of people will find replayability and enjoy it. You can have multiple difficulty settings, single or multiplayer. I found myself wearing early on, there's no classes, but the outfit you wear kind of takes that role, and you can flip it and adjust it anytime. I found myself wearing a wolf armor, and then I ended up in a wizard's costume. At one point, I was a knight. I am ecstatic for this, and for $20 across PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch, well worth it. And it's day and date into Game Pass. It's a game that's going to have legs, and you guys are going to absolutely love it.
I can't believe this game's only $20. Like, that blows my mind.
I know. Like, I think I'm actually gonna buy, even though I have Game Pass, I'll have it on Game Pass. But I think I'm gonna buy a copy of it on my other Xbox under my account name that my kids use. Just so then that way they just will always have it, and we can play it in the living room or whatever. I don't have to worry about online stuff if I ever need, or whatever. So because I mean, $20, they're practically giving it away.
And I think that's inherently by design, because Microsoft is, when they became stewards of Mojang and then they pushed Minecraft, they got on every platform. They continue to support it on every platform. However, specifically now, Dungeons has the Xbox Game Studios logo popping up first. It's new, it's flashy, and it's catchy. And they've got Xbox Live popping up on people's Switches whenever they boot up Minecraft. This will do the same thing again on more platforms and remind people that Xbox exists as we were saying earlier, not just as a box. It's no longer hardware gated. Xbox exists as a platform for you to approach via xCloud, for you to approach via your PC, approach via Game Pass, or your actual Xbox. And if you're logging into Xbox Live to play crossplay with your friends, which you can only play crossplay with friends, and there was a bit of a miscommunication about some people thinking it didn't have multiplayer, and that's not true. It does, but every time you do that, and you're logging in, seeing Xbox in such an approachable game, the more this game proliferates, the more people will see Xbox in the background, and that stuff does matter. It does matter. And I think it's a smart move, truth be told, because there's going to be DLC. We already know there's 2 confirmed DLCs, and I will tell you, gentlemen, I very much feel, in my time with it so far, that I would have loved to be wearing some Master Chief armor, or dressing up as Kratos, or wearing a Mario or Luigi outfit, because those exist in Minecraft proper.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me that, like, it would be cool if somehow they integrated the costume DLC from Minecraft proper into this game, and had, like you said, like a Master Chief armor that would give you like extra armor or whatever. I haven't played it yet, obviously, but like it seems like there could be some really cool things that you could do within the Minecraft universe by allowing people to have those costumes ready at the start.
Well, and I think Minecraft is such a good vehicle for a family-based dungeon crawler. Like baby's first Diablo, essentially, is what I'm getting, but it's something that goes like far deeper than that. It's not like the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games. It's like, this is something that'll be appealing to my buddy's 8-year-old son who just got his first Switch today for his birthday. I bought him Minecraft Dungeons. Like, it's ready for him to play when it unlocks on Tuesday. The kid has been obsessed with Minecraft since he was like 3. Like, this is the greatest thing in the world to him. It's something him and his dad can. But at the same time, it's something that I'm going to find a lot of depth with my buddies. And like, I've been craving a new Diablo style game. Like, this is right up my alley. This will hold me until Ascent comes out. Like, I'm so pumped for this. I actually almost want to buy it on my Switch and not play it on Game Pass. Like, this is the perfect kind of game that I could see myself when I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm sitting down, I'm kind of relaxing for a little bit. I always try to do a little bit of reading, or I play an indie on my Switch. And this is probably going to be, for lack of a better term, this is going to be my bedtime game. I will get in and I'll bust out like 20-25 minutes of looting and then go to bed. Like, I'm very excited for this. I love that there's no classes. You saying that is the best thing that I could have ever heard. I've tried to stay away from anything that has not been shown at an E3 or at an Inside Xbox presentation about this game. I'm just completely happy and with no expectations. Everything you just said is what I wanted to hear.
Great, man. I'm glad. I'm very happy to hear that. I think, and I hope I do it justice, and I hope you're pleased, man.
Yeah. I've been excited for, like for it since it kind of came out. My oldest is 9, and so like you were saying, like there's that depth of things there that he can kind of get introduced, or he can get introduced to through this game, and like to learn kind of about those kind of mechanics and things that he could previously, like as he gets older and plays, something like Diablo or whatever, that he'll then understand, can kind of learn to understand some of those things. Yeah, both of my kids, my daughter too, she's been playing a lot of the Power Rangers fighting game.
Battle for the Grid.
She's only 6, but she's been playing it and like loving it. Like I don't know what it is about that game, but she just absolutely loves it. And
it's Power Rangers.
My 9-year-old son's been playing online against people, and he's actually won a couple of times. And I'm just like, man, you guys are gonna like surpass me, because I already like I used to be into fighting games when I was younger, but like now I couldn't win to save my life. So it's like just it's a lot of fun, and I definitely look forward to this, like playing this with them and kind of like introducing them to this kind of genre of game. So
yeah, because
I like back in the day I used to love like Command and Conquer and all that. Like all I would play was like Command and Conquer, or on the Unreal tournaments and those kind of games as well, like on PC. Like all I would play was like Command and Conquer and stuff all the time. Even on I had it on console for a while.
Dude, you need to play Halo Wars 2. The game's
I know.
I love Halo Wars.
I know.
Available on Xbox Game Pass.
I know.
I don't want to plug anything here, but I did talk to the guy that made Halo Wars 1. Just throw that out there. Halo Wars 2 is such a good game. I love that. I'm so excited.
Where can we find that discussion?
Oh, there? On the Xbox Expansion Pass, available on all your podcast services.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Is that all you've been playing, Luke?
Yeah, those are my 2 primaries. I wrapped up some Spider-Man PS4 DLC, and I've been playing a lot of Ultimate Alliance 3 on my Switch, and I am looking forward to trying out God of War and Days Gone. I'm using this summer to catch up on anything I didn't get exclusive-wise from any system this generation that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
God of War is so good.
I
can't wait.
Well, I heard that that Spider-Man DLC was pretty good. Did you end up really, really enjoying that then?
No.
No, you didn't.
But not in a it's
not in a bad way. Yeah.
Right. The game, I platinumed the main game when it first came out, and I had saved all the DLC till now. And the DLC is more Spider-Man, and that's great. The story is pretty good. However, they up the difficulty on some stuff, and the missions get very padding and very tedious. So it's more Spider-Man. And clearly they saved a lot of their good stuff for what they're doing on Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But it was too hard, to be perfectly blunt. It was too hard, and I dropped it down to easy about halfway through and found myself enjoying it more. But it does not affect your trophies. I went in and got every trophy for every DLC because I got nothing but time. But it's post-game DLC, and it's fun, and it's Spider-Man, but it's not what I thought it would be. After episode 1, I was like, oh, this is going to be baller, and it turns out to just be, all right, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and part of me wonders if it, like they expected people to be going right into it. It might even just be part of that, like, if you haven't played it in so long and then you're coming back to it and it's like none of that stuff is kind of like, like in your mind of how you played the game. So
good
it would
point.
be, so, that probably doesn't help either.
That's a very good point. Absolutely
right. Josh, what are you playing?
So I've been going back and doing a little bit of cleanup as well. Playing a lot of online games, really, because I focused pretty heavily on single player over the last year. But right now I'm kind of jamming with some Forza Horizon 4, which I never dove into too much when it first came out, despite loving 3 and putting probably about 80 hours into number 3. So that's been really cool. Just did the Halo Racing Challenge before I hopped on with y'all, and it's kind of cool to have Cortana narrating a Warthog race with Banshees shooting each other overhead.
Should have done more of that. They should have done so much more of that.
Yeah.
If there was more of that, as much as I love Horizon, I would pay for an entire Halo-based DLC in that game.
Same.
It's just incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
Give me that. Give me some of this wacky stuff. Give me a Pelican race. I don't care. Get as weird as you possibly can.
Maybe we'll see some of
with
that
your
in Halo
franchises.
Infinite.
If I can fly
stop.
an actual Pelican
Yeah.
in Infinite.
We talked about this on our episode that we pre-recorded. I said, what if I said, there's so many vehicles in the Halo world, and we really haven't gotten to do much flying of anything other than the small, little piddly things. When they say infinite and they talk about this open world, I was like, I want to actually be flying spaceships through space to places and actually doing stuff outside of we've seen and you see in some games where this level is kind of one where you're doing something completely different that the main parts of the game aren't exactly
Halo
to do
Reach,
something that really changes it up. Yeah.
Reach has those
Reach
flying
and
sections.
four had a space level there at the end where you're basically doing a mini Death Star run.
Yeah.
Which my personal favorite level in Halo 4. It kind of renamed the campaign for me because it's like, oh my god, this is so uniquely different. I'm not running a Warthog again at the end of a main Halo game. I really like this. The other game I've been playing that does not feature good vehicle combat or integration of any kind is, of course, Destiny 2.
What are you talking about? The sparrows are great.
I don't know if anybody knows, but we finally got one of my very favorite guns from from Destiny 1 back in the game this past week. The quest was bugged. The community is, of course, in an uproar. What else is new with a Bungie game?
Wait, what gun did they bring back? I haven't been keeping up with Destiny.
Fellwinter's Lie is back.
Oh,
the best sniper
no way.
from Destiny 1 is back.
No way.
Yes. So to give you an idea of how much this gun is being used in trial weekend, it has 250,000 more kills than the next most used gun right now. It accounts for 2 million of the overall kills in trial so far this weekend, and we're on Sunday night. We still have a whole 36 hours to go. It's nuts. It's bonkers. The quest was completely broken. They wanted you to do this absolutely atrocious public event that the whole season's been built around. Up the difficulty. It was pretty much impossible, so the community as a whole said, we're not doing it. Bump the difficulty down. Everybody goes and finishes it. We run 1,000 shotgun kills in the middle of the night between Sunday and Monday, and as each of us races to the moon bunker, it's bugged. You can't get into the bunker. You just automatically respawn all the way across the moon. You're like, oh, crap, come on. Bungie and Broken Quests, name a more iconic duo. It was kind of a tipping point for a community that has been kind of lost for the past 8 or 9 months, I would say. I don't think the game's been necessarily bad, but I do think there's been some questionable choices with the shift to the seasonal model. Mm-hmm. And those issues are coming to a head. They're having to tackle those head on in their weekly updates. They're having to attack different avenues of this. There was concerns about Eververse, about microtransactions. Now they're going to sunset weapons. People are pissed that these weapons that took weeks of grinding to get, in some cases, are going to be obsolete come the fall. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, in a game like that, you have to power creep, and that's never been implemented in a game like that properly. The Division has never handled power creeping very well.
Yeah.
Destiny has allowed you can have a primary grenade launcher, and that's once you have it, that's all you're using for DPS. It is the best DPS weapon in the entire game if you get the mountaintop. But you can't make anything better than that, or even anything kind of equal to that, because nobody's going to take that off. And that's what they're trying to address. Really, there's 5 or 6 weapons running rampant that they're we got to get rid of these, but we're going to sunset everything from the first 2 years.
Yeah.
I know 5 to 6 of the words that you have said so far.
Don't worry, don't worry, Josh. I understand everything.
I'm getting really deep here.
I understand everything you're saying, Josh.
As it's this is my ongoing game. This is my World of Warcraft. This is my gaming addiction. I've probably put between the two Destiny games over 1,000 hours into this franchise across 6 years. I know, like, that doesn't sound like a lot compared to like streamers or people who like really, really play this game.
I think I put $1,000 into Destiny 1 alone.
I put 300 into Destiny 1. I still felt like it was about 200 too many. As much as I love, like, I love raiding in this community. I love playing trials. I like doing comp. I like doing all the end game stuff, but just like it's not reward. And I think that the conversation happening around that game, there is a point to everything I'm saying. I think the conversation happening in and around that community is actually going to shape more than just that game. I think it's going to shape the future of games as a service over the next 12 to 18 months, really. It's the first game like that, I think, that has had a sustainable audience. Because I don't put Fortnite and Apex Legends in that. To me, those are true free-to-play games. When you buy something, you're only buying a skin. You're buying content packs. You're not buying expansions. You're not buying full-on like DLCs. You're buying a skin for a gun or an emote or a skin for your character. Mm-hmm. But with this, it's really the one that, sure, Division 2, they just had basically their Taken King come out with Warlords of New York, which did not review that well, kind of bottomed out really fast. This is really the one that's been sustainable and is kind of trying to blaze that path forward, but it's an interesting story of trying to balance what the developer wants to do with this franchise and their vision with what the community wants. And I think up until this past expansion with Shadowkeep, they've actually done a pretty good job of listening to the community and giving them what they want while still keeping with their vision. Now that they're independent of Activision, it's setting up kind of a showdown, a battle of the wills between your development team and your community, who are extremely vocal. And not going to proceed. How is that going to shape the future of your franchise? And like we've already seen, that there may be hints that they're going to back off of some weapon sunsetting because there's such a big stink being made. We had that announcement like 5 days ago, and everybody is losing already over.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed because
there's not enough assets there. There's no Destiny 3. We're going to keep it as Destiny 2. Like, I think it's such a fascinating conversation for a game that was paid and then free to play. And we talk about predatory microtransactions. This game has some of those, but it's not on the level of an Elder Scrolls Online. Like that, you want to talk about microtransactions? Please go play a Bethesda Online game. I just think that there's a really and I would urge you, even if you don't play the game, pay pretty close attention to what that conversation evolves into over the summer, because I think it's going to affect how your Ubisofts, how your EAs, how they approach these games. I think it's going to affect the Anthem rework if that ever comes out. I think it'll affect an inevitable Division 3, maybe Watch Dogs Legion, like these online interconnected games. I think all eyes are kind of on Bungie, for better or worse, right now. Like, how are they going to handle this and respond to their community while also executing their full creative storytelling and gameplay vision? So, all that's really long-winded to say, watch that game this summer, because it's either evolving into something really beautiful this fall, or it's going to crash and burn spectacularly. Either way, I'm going down with the ship. I've invested enough time and money into it.
Yeah.
Give me space to read.
I'm with you. I'm not gonna lie. I'm with you. I, as someone who recently just kind of was playing Destiny this week and was like trying to, I almost put the Destiny sunsetting weapons story in our news, but I know you and I are the only two that really play a lot of Destiny, so I was like, it's probably not really worth talking about with people who don't really know Destiny. But
I'll put it to you this way: this is the first time in about 16 months that I have gone more than a month without putting probably about 10 hours a week into that game. Really backed off this season, and the content just isn't there. Like, I'll flat out admit it. I'm a Bungie stan. It's not there. They got to fix something. They admitted back in January, the seasonal model we implemented is not working. It will not work. We can't do anything about it right now. All we can do is fix the future. We can fix what happens in the fall, and for their sake, I hope that they do. Like, content needs to stick around, not just pop up for 8 weeks and then disappear, especially when it's kind of half-baked. Like, I don't need to run this event more than 3 or 4 times. Like, give me reasons, give me lore reasons why I need to keep doing this. Give me more meaningful rewards. And I think that's kind of balancing with what people expect from MMO, like World of Warcraft, or a dungeon crawler like Diablo. Like, they want that kind of loot in a shooter. And outside of Borderlands, we've never seen that. And even Borderlands loot is, like okay, like I don't know. I don't play a lot of Borderlands, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the same kind of experience as an online game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a fascinating industry conversation that's happening. The whole cross save debacle, moving to Steam, cheaters in online comp. It's all very fascinating to watch from an outside and insider perspective. Like,
Yeah.
it is a spectacular dumpster fire of an experience right now, and there's no better time to go play a free to play game than right now.
Yeah.
See what the dumpster fire is about.
Yeah. Is that all you've been?
Yeah, that's it. I promise that is it. That's my long-winded.
All right. We are running a tad long, but Jesse, you playing anything fun, interesting? Any?
Just mostly Saints Row. I played the remaster of Saints Row 3, and I'm enjoying it so far. Like that still for me, like, people love their GTAs and whatever, their Assassin's Creeds and whatever, but like for me it's always been Saints Row. The second that Saints Row was a thing, like I fell in love with that franchise. Now the first one, when it came out, it was pretty bare bones, but like a lot of the times those open worlds like that are, when it's the first one of a franchise. It's kind of the same with Watch Dogs. The first one, I mean, I liked it, but I feel like there was a lot more things to do in the second one, and it was kind of the same with Saints Row. Personally, my Saints Row 2 is still my personal favorite, but 3 is definitely an amazing like step up in a lot of ways. So. Yeah, it's got that over the top like story stuff that I really, really wanted, and like as far as the storyline goes, I think 3's storyline was one of the better parts of the 3.
Yeah.
It's really ultimately 2's the things that I liked better about 2 were more how they handled the side missions. Like they did, where like your side missions, if you finished all the side mission stuff in like the little things that they had, you'd basically get the equivalent of what you would have usually been something you had to get by putting a code in to unlock, like unlimited ammo, unlimited health, unlimited. So like when you did the side missions, they gave you things like that were worth doing the side missions for. Like they made side missions worth something that you want to finish them all, because you'll be just like unstoppable, and just it'll then go from being a fun, goofy game to being the most, you can be the most powerful, just do whatever fun you want in this open world and just, have fun with it at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's I just love the story though, and like I said in 3, it starts out great with the whole like the bank robbery, and it's a good game. So yeah, like if you're a fan of the Saints Row games and you really like 3, they definitely, I feel like this definitely is a really, really nice looking version of that game. So
Cool.
that's pretty much it.
Well, I guess I'll wrap things up with what I've been playing. I played a little bit of Destiny. It's been a while since I've played it extensively, so that game still feels amazing to play. Just the mechanics of the game just still feel really good, even if every time I log in, the quest like the quest logs and stuff are different. Although I do like the way the quest logs are set up this season. So, but we already talked a lot about Destiny, so I've also been trying to finish Control. I haven't played since Friday, but I'm about 2/3 of the way through the game. I was really frustrated when I started playing it, and then as you progress and start unlocking moves and stuff to move throughout the world and stuff, it makes that game infinitely better once you get the evade move, once you get the some of the power ups and even something as little as upgrading your health and your energy stuff makes the game infinitely better. To where you're not always hiding. You could just keep moving and keep throwing stuff and shoot when you need to. And Jesse, that tip you gave me to unlock the throwing the rockets back at people, almost immediately has just been a lifesaver. So many people throwing rockets and grenades at you. It's just kind of like, man, it's really nice just to tap that right bumper to throw it right back at them. So
Yeah.
But my
nice.
enjoyment of Control has escalated since last week, so I'm really enjoying it now. I do still think there's a lot of difficulty spikes in that game that are sometimes feel a little unfair, but at the same time, being able to move all the time instead of hiding because my health is low has been a lifesaver. So
Yeah.
also been playing a lot of Halo multiplayer, specifically Reach 3 and 5 in the last few days. Dude, I still think Halo is one of the best feeling shooters out there. Especially Halo 5 still feels really fun to play. I know it's not as deep as a lot of the shooters out there. I mean, you could argue that there's no depth to the shooting at all, really. There's no Call of Duty progress to be made or anything, but just jumping into some social matches to get my feet wet has been fun, and jumping into the ranked matches, man, it's fun to see people still playing Halo and finding matches almost instantly still is
I maintain Warzone is one of my favorite new multiplayer editions of the generation.
See, I haven't even,
it's where Halo 5 really shined.
I haven't tried it yet. Like, as much as Halo 5 as I've played, I've never played Warzone.
If there is still an active player base going for that in game mode, I highly, highly, highly recommend playing it. It's a PvPvE mode.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to play. I really loved it. That's where the bulk of my time with Halo 5 was spent a few years ago. Outside of Gambit, it's probably my favorite multiplayer edition of any game this cycle. So definitely hope that returns in Infinite.
Yeah, cool. I'll try it out. I've been itching to play a lot more Halo recently. Mostly because
it's a better firefight.
Mostly because Luke was playing the campaigns with Bad Bit, and like I was like, man, I really kind of want to play through these campaigns again. You guys really got me. And then you started ranking. You had that ranking of yours. I'm like, I'm so glad somebody likes Halo 4 as much as I do.
Halo 4 is the best Halo that has been made to date, and in terms of campaign, I might add, I'm speaking strictly about campaigns.
Thank you.
You have to go back. Nostalgia is a painful drug. And when you allow yourself the reality of going back to replay them, you find that some things age wonderfully and some things do not. And 4 and Reach age wonderfully. The level designs in 1 and 2 are atrocious by modern standards. Despite our nostalgic kick, you couldn't put a kid in there and say,
we can pretend that Quarantine Zone was not a thing. And if we do that, Halo 2 is not quite that bad.
Well, it's not bad. It's just it doesn't age well, and
Halo 3 definitely does not age well. Like I defend 2 more than I will 3. 3 just oof.
I would
some
put
of the decisions made there.
I would put 3 above 1 and 2.
Yeah, I would too.
But 5 was an interesting one more than anything because it mechanically is the best of all of them, and yet feels soulless. It lacks a Halo soul to it, and there's a lot to it that just doesn't feel or look like Halo, despite being beautiful.
You didn't like fighting Warden Eternal like 5 times at once?
I think you joke. I think it touches on the fact that in Halo 4, the Prometheans were comfortably mixed with a lot of Covenant type enemies, and in 5, it's all Prometheans. Now, without you to derail too much, screw it, I'll derail. If you've played Halo Wars 2, or if you've read any of the novels, which I know I'm a dork, or comic books,
all novels over here.
Yeah, okay, I just finished Oblivion, real good.
Okay.
So they've done a good job of setting themselves up to bring in other enemies apart from Prometheans, which thank goodness, because Infinite, if it was more Prometheans, I'd be real sleepy and be like, I don't know. So I'm excited
Back
to see
to multiplayer.
yeah, I'm excited to see what Banished has, and of course, in
for
store.
sure.
So sorry, Corey, I got excited.
No, it's
we're all
Hey,
we're all
that was
that's-
very mild by my rant standards, so
That's-
it's all
yeah.
good.
that's
and we're all Halo fans here.
Yeah.
So
I love Halo 4. I'll stand by that until Infinite proves me wrong. But yeah, that's kind of all I've been playing. I've returned to Assassin's Creed Odyssey again. I mean, I'm 27 hours into my replay, and I'm just now getting to Athens. So that should tell you all the side crap I've been doing.
Have you ever finished Odyssey out of curiosity, Corey?
No, I have a 70-hour save on PlayStation that I never returned to, and
I probably put about 85, 90 hours into Odyssey before I beat the story mode, because I'm notorious for running off and doing every single side quest that I get.
Mm-hmm.
I left an entire, not side quest, side plot undone. Mm-hmm. There is an entire, tangent, not even touch, because I was just exhausted by the end, and that's why I never went and played. It ties into the DLCs. I never touched those. 90 hours as Cassandra was enough for me. I just couldn't go back and do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think that's why I quit on PlayStation also, is I just what
I already take anxiety medication, and that game ramped it up to an 11 for me, because the world is so massive and there's so many quests, there's faction battles going on, there are random mercenaries roaming, there's too much to do. I couldn't
There's a
handle
lot
it at times. It was sensory overload at times for me, especially for someone who doesn't like to fast travel places. I like to walk everywhere. That is
gosh.
the worst freaking game to walk across the world in.
What are you doing? Why are you doing that to yourself?
I'm a masochist. I hate myself.
Apparently. So,
I had started Witcher 3, and I got maybe about 10 minutes into it, and then I started hearing, because I had gotten it late, right around the time everyone was talking about how long it took them to beat it, and I never picked it up after that, and I sold it.
When Ray Williams told me that he put 300 hours in his first playthrough, I immediately said nope, and I have not touched it since.
Yep, that's what's.
I refuse to play any RPG that takes that much time out of my life.
That's what scared me the first time I started playing The Witcher. Was it was that long, and I was like, well, I got Destiny to pour hours into. I can't be playing The Witcher. So, but I
don't think Fallout 4 and Skyrim have that many hours on me. That's something.
So I mean, I've been playing The Witcher on Switch, and it's actually been a great experience over there. But that's my bedtime game, actually. Josh talking about bedtime games. It's 20 or 30 minutes of The Witcher, and then I'm going to bed.
Yep.
But yeah, that's kind of all I've been playing. So that's gonna do it for the show. If you want to have your question read on the show, you can email us at arsenalxpodcast@gmail.com or tweet at us at arsenalxpodcast. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Luke, for joining us. You can catch Arsenal X live on Mixer and Twitch on Boss Rush Games Twitch and Mixer channels, or head on over to bossrushgames.com/subscribe to watch it there. Luke, remind everybody about Xbox Expansion Pass and where you can find it.
I've said it too many times this show, and I apologize. Just,
if you don't want
Xbox
to.
Expansion Pass. It's on all your podcast services. Feel free to check it out, guys. It means the world. And you can find me on Twitter at InsipidGhost.
Awesome. Josh?
I don't have a fancy podcast to promote anymore. But you can find me on Twitter and find all of my rantings and ravings about the game industry and about media in general over at @_Finn. And that's Finn with 2 N's.
Awesome. Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me almost everywhere as Phantom NXS.
And you can find me at I am CorianHD on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find me at CorianHD on Mixer and Twitch. You can also find me on Nintendo Power Block, our Nintendo podcast, and on the Boss Rush podcast. You can find all of our content at bossrushgames.com, and subscribe to all of our shows and content at bossrushgames.com/subscribe. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Josh. Jesse, thank you for being here always. And remember,
A little late.
play games, be better. We're going to throw up the X because we're exiting out. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.